Hi, and welcome to today's podcast episode. Today, you are either watching this in a video, which I am doing right now, or just the audio. Either way, welcome. I'm excited to bring in a video, and I felt inspired to do this, just having fun with getting more into recording and seeing that I can just record from my phone makes it a lot more easy to record a video with the podcast. And this outfit is inspired and styled by Serena, my cat. She really reminded me that I'm a queen and was like, yeah, of course you're wearing this outfit. You're a queen. So I really appreciate her and all of her love, care, and support. And today's episode, we are going to be talking about probably in multiple parts, but there's so much in this period of time that I'm going to be referencing that happened that I really don't know what's going to come through. But at the same time, I know it's going to be good and juicy. And basically, I thought about maybe I should think about and write down things, but honestly, I already get into my head too much. So it's important that I actually just have a little, a general idea of what I'll talk about, but just let it flow. So basically, what I'm going to be talking about is my experience going through the void and what that means, who I learned that from, and how I've navigated this void space. And there's so many lessons and things that I can relay to you if you feel like you are going through this. There's a lot of unique challenges, and a lot of treasures that exist in this unique period of time that for me, I feel really it kicked off in a deeper way in 2020, like at the tail end of 2020, but it really started like a journey of questions started after I graduated from college and was living on my own for the first time and out in the world. I decided right away to move to New York City after living in Vermont all my life and going to school there. And then when I was looking at jobs and different ways to support myself, even just to be there, I was like, dang, 2 weeks off a year, which obviously now there's a lot more flexibility and a lot more companies that offer more time off, but still the concept of it, I was like, ugh, that's just not right for me. And that launched me into staying open to the possibilities of what was out there beyond that structure, because I was just like, I don't like that. So, yeah, when you start to ask yourself questions and you realize what isn't working for you, or what structure or path that you found yourself on by, usually by maybe influence from others or just figuring it out, those questions can launch you into a really deep and profound and special journey of healing, and also growth, development, expansion, evolution, and coming back home to the true path for you and discovering it and learning all about yourself. And I think one thing that I learned is, in hindsight, is to remember that every step you are perfect and this is who you are. You're just learning more about yourself. And like the version of me that I remember from 2020 or 2018 was doing completely different things and than I am now. But she was also having a lot of fun and exploring a totally new part of life that she didn't get to explore before and she was curious about. So whether those explorations maybe you judge now, or maybe you see as something that you just don't have the same interest in, they still had value and they still were really special. And they were so much fun too. Like there was a lot of highs and lows of emotions at that time of my life, but at the same time, there was a lot of fantastic experiences. And of course, those are the ones that I remember. It's like the the fun parts. So you'll always remember that. But now I feel like I'm a lot more balanced with me and my true essence, and taking better care of myself and learning how I need to be cared for and learning my value and all of that stuff. But I couldn't have forced it or been hard on myself for where I was before, because you have to start somewhere. And so it's important to really be valuing yourself and talking to yourself with kindness and love and compassion every step of the way, because it's really just a journey of experiencing what life has to offer and all the amazing aspects of yourself being reflected back to you. But also you then also experience the shadow aspects of yourself that are being reflected back to you through, the people in your life, the situations, the environments. And it's a lot of humility and humbleness that we have to really face ourselves in a mirror in this human experience. We're facing a mirror of both the light and the shadow of what is within us too. And being really honest with ourselves is a really important part of true growth and expansion and true spiritual connection and evolution, but also material growth in more harmonious and balanced ways that are coming from sourcing from a place of abundance and love rather than scarcity and fear. And sometimes I can get caught up in like, oh no, it's bad if I'm accidentally acting out of the ego, but I really think it's important to also just accept that you're human and that's just a part of us as humans. So shaming it is not going to help at all, and it's totally opposite of being that caring, compassionate, loving person for yourself. If you want it from others, you have to give it to yourself and learn how to experience it and be open and receptive to it within yourself before you can expect it from others. And it has to be sourced always primarily through your own self. Everyone else is just extra. So so the void, I would say, is a lot of this. A lot of what I just was sharing about. Basically, I first heard this term from someone called the Royal Shaman. So I'll link her info all around. And also my first like spiritual entrepreneurship coach, I'll call it that. You can call it all sorts of things, was Christina Stair. So I'll also link her information. And she really helped me as I was like first awakening to myself, and my consciousness was evolving, and I was like healing more and just more self-aware of the gifts that I have and the ways that I want to be living in a totally different way than I was before. And what I felt was like a search for, not even a search, but an honoring of a deeper calling that I felt, and learning how to listen to my intuition. So as all of that really opened up, I was really lucky to have overlapped and met this person, Christina, who guided me and a bunch of others in a group coaching space. And she shared about this void as one of the steps of like life. But she was also sharing it in the sense of like there's small scale, like mini voids, like, every season and cycle of the month we go through, there's going to be a period of time where you really are supposed to be like resting, pausing. There's no clear direction, there's no clear inspiration, but then it will align for you, and then the inspiration comes. Kind of like a winter would be an example of a void for me, because that's the period of time where you're really focused on rooting in and not necessarily getting new ideas, but just maybe tending to the old ones, letting go of things that no longer work for you, really being reflective, and your hibernation time to really realign energetically by letting go of things. And so that's another example of a void. The Royal Shaman talks about it in realm of like creativity and creation, and the void being kind of like, for example, the space of your womb, and how it's like a dark space of honestly infinite possibilities and potential. And if I butcher any of what I remember from these people, I apologize. This is what I remember from what I heard and learned from them, and this was like years ago. So but yeah, the void being like this like incubator space where basically anything can be created from it. And she also shares how that's really important to actually feel boredom and to be in this place of not having direction, not knowing, not having forward movement, because it's just a important part of creation. And I'll just like leave it at that. So the last 5 years plus, I've been feeling that. And I like basically another way that I've been experiencing the void, and this might be something that you can relate to, is, and as you can see, it's just like, like it, like even in my body, it feels like exhausting. But basically, it felt like every step forward was a step back, and there wasn't actually true movement in big ways, the ways that I wanted, the ways that I had envisioned, the ways that I had intended. And I had been intending certain things for myself for a while. It feels like forever. I mean, obviously, the moment you intend it, you want it to happen right away. So it can feel like forever. But it's really helped me to grow a lot of patience, develop a lot in myself, and the experience of not having all of this come to fruition. But basically, the void is like a space where you are integrating this new awareness of yourself, this new level of awakening or consciousness around what it is that you want for yourself. And it's going to be different than what you maybe were doing or had interest in, or maybe it'll be different than what you were told by others to pursue. So there's this like collision of intentions that as you start to honor more of who you are and your true interests, your true desires, your true visions, and start to come into more deeper confidence in your value just as you are and the ways that you feel inspired to express yourself, all of that will also require some integration and some time to let go and like mesh all of that with all the old stuff. Yeah, and it takes time and evolution and processes of a lot of like inner reflection. I, being supported in therapy space, or with energy clearing or energy healing, going to maybe like work with a coach for like life coach, or there's just so many tools out there that I have personally utilized to help me in this period of life that I feel like now will be forever. Like I'm not forever, like basically really intentionally developing and evolving, and I'm just getting the hang of it, and it's been like 5 years. But some things that I feel like inspired to share about this void space, if you feel like you're in it. Let me just pause for a second. So I'm hearing talk about the challenge, I want to say challenge. That's weird. The blend of challenge and change kind of sounds like challenge. I don't know. That was weird. But there's so many ways that I was operating my life and approaching these visions and approaching my wants and even just approaching the idea of starting my own business was all coming from such an out of alignment place early on. So when every time I did a step forward and then a step back, it was actually because it wasn't for me. That step forward just didn't feel right. And yes, I think there was a lot of self-sabotage, but I wasn't energetically at the capacity to maintain whatever that idea was that made me step forward into a certain direction. And yeah, like the version of me when I first started was so much more insecure, uncertain. Like there was so much that I have evolved. It's incredible. Like I really have healed so much, reflected so much in myself, traumas from my own past, from like things that are connected to past lives. Yeah, just there's so much that has changed in me, and not the things that I'm calling forward are not possible to be held by me and maintained by me energetically unless I really did that inner work, inner, and maybe we can change the word work to like inner evolution, that many times were heavy, many times included tears, included a lot of painful, experiences, but also then every time that I expanded through a challenge or expanded through something that I was clearing or releasing or healing, it's a really beautiful other side, the highs and lows of life. There's then that expansive feeling, and you're like, oh my God. And then you go back all over again. And so it got easier and easier and lighter as I continue to do these things to heal and process. And basically, it's been like a gym, like a really intense gym session of my inner world, to build those muscles of confidence in who I am, in confidence in my voice, in learning the way that is meant for me to be, how I approach a creative project or how I approach creation in general of life or of a piece of artwork, or how I operate within a team space or a collaborative space, and like what my needs are so different than what someone else's are, like how my energy moves and how often I need a rest versus like go, go, go. And all of that is like some things that I've been learning in this space of time where there wasn't, in my mind, like big movement or change in my life. If anything, there was more and more destruction and like surrender, to be able to get myself basically detached from all things that were connected with the past ways that I was approaching life, operating, and subconsciously programmed to do so that way. Yeah, and that's kind of like what we're doing collectively right now is chaos, to detach from systems and organizations and ways that were created in a more hierarchy, limiting way, a way that is to take away from, I hope I'm still recording there, to take the power away from the individual and make sure it was only kept for a certain group of people. And that group of people can be different in every society, but let me just make sure this is still recording. Cool. Yeah. What was I talking about? Yeah, so we're all detaching from this outdated way of life, and we're just learning how to better operate in more authentic ways. And that's what the void is basically you releasing all of these cords and connections to your old life, so that you can welcome in and grow and care for and bring life to this new timeline for yourself, or this new world that you've had a vision for, or what it is you truly deserve, or what you desire deeply in your heart. That's like, what is the overall vision? Not what, don't, rather than manifesting the how, that's something I would get caught up in a lot. Focus on the overall vision of what it is that you feel turned on by and inspired by, and like, that's the one that's gonna really, it's like, like, that's the vision, that's the feeling, that's the path. And for me, I manifest with feeling, and rather than like specificity. So learning more about yourself is going to be real helpful when you are manifesting. Yeah, I think that's where I might pause for today's share about the void, but I'm hearing no. So I'm going to pause for a second and just make sure this camera is still recording. Okay, great. We're at 22 minutes. I'll take a sip of water. Yeah, it's really important to receive support and to be open to support from others while you're going through this void experience, because like I said, I invested in so many things that have been really helpful and necessary for me to understand what I was doing and what was happening, and how to maintain some sense of like hope for the future, that something would change. And you'll know something will change because there's this inner feeling, this inner fire that just never goes out. And that's when you know there's this thing that you are making every choice because of in your life, to honor that inner knowing, that inner fire, that's something like deep, that's right in these choices, to say goodbye to something that's not for you. That's your guiding pillar forward, that's your light, and come back to the root of that, and come back to enjoying your body, enjoying life, enjoying yourself. That's the essence and the energy that the more you gain confidence in that, the more you honor and learn to celebrate that, and the more you let go of any voices or critiques or self-doubt or stories that tell you otherwise, that is when you will really be in alignment with your special path forward and the things that you have always felt were possible. And yeah, for some people it's really about more like a feeling rather than a thing. So depends what feels most expansive for you. If I think about a specific thing for my future, I get really tight, and like it gets me like, it's just not great. But if I feel into like the embodiment of it, it feels a lot more sensual and natural for me to tap into that energy. What else? I would also suggest that you really practice coming back to presence and mindfulness, so that you can just simply enjoy yourself throughout the process, and to let go of always focusing on whatever it is that you think you want, and rather learn how to have experience appreciation for where you are right now and surrendering to that place. I've had to do a lot of that moving back home to live with my parents, but also this time where I've been supported completely to have a place to stay while detaching from a cycle that I had been like looping in and I wanted to break free from. It has been really helpful. It has come with a lot of challenge, but also there is so much that I've grown and evolved in myself and strength. Like I have so much more strength. It's really like building muscles, like at a gym. Like you're strengthening your muscles, your spiritual, like energetic muscles. And so good for you. That's amazing. I think for some of us, it's literally that was the only way forward. Like that's the only choice. For others, I don't know what it's like, but that's cool. That's nice. Must be nice. Yeah, I think, I don't know, I could just keep talking about this topic of all the things I've been learning in the past 5 years. Yeah, with every expansion, with every new path that helps you awaken something more in yourself, you'll find a way back home to understand that information or that expansion in a way that is through yourself. Because, you know, through this path of this void space, you're going to be encountering a lot of teachers and a lot of resources. And it's important not to like replicate someone else and come back to learning what's your own way of understanding something, your own take, your own like flair, your own style, so that you can better encompass the totality of who you are and all of the fun aspects. Like, for example, when I was really awakening to my spiritual connections beyond religion, and remembering that I was definitely more involved with more like spiritual communities and maybe new age, you could call it new age communities. I don't even know what to call it. But, and I still value that, but now I'm learning how to interweave me and the person that doesn't necessarily conform to like one way of doing things. The version of me that also used to go out clubbing and loved to party, and the version of me that also loves to be in deep meditation and connect really deeply with the things that I feel, the voices, the knowings through my connection with the land, and the version of me that just wants to relax and be taken care of and go on first class flights, and the version of me that is excited to learn something new. So there's so many versions of ourselves that are all encompassed. So part of being in the void is coming back to loving all of who you are and noticing when you might be holding yourself back because of fear of judgment. And that judgment can even come from the people, the fear can even come from being judged by people that were part of your expansion and were part of your evolution in really important ways. But maybe really what you're doing is just judging yourself, obviously. But yeah, it's something to keep in mind. Like, what community are you now seeing and putting on a pedestal? And how can you bring that back down to be more true to yourself? Take away that pedestal and remember that all expressions of yourself are right and true. And there's no right. There's no right or wrong. There's just like what feels good in the moment. Like what feels like the best path forward in this moment. And whatever that might be, it's for you. And it's like, rather than doubting, just do it. Even if it means you're going to have to step back again. Yeah, okay. I think that feels like completion. I'm definitely starting to feel more like fading. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode, and I would love to answer any questions about the void. And yeah, feel free to leave those in whatever places you have access to, in the comments or in a DM or email or whatever. So then I can come back to do another video answering questions or just continuing to talk about some other aspects of the void. Yeah, so I'm wishing you all the best. You've got this. Just, take some deep breaths, go outside, enjoy nature, just enjoy life. And I will chat with you again on another episode.